Yeah. So, hi guys, I'm Shravan here, and my brother Ganesh is also here. So, I'm from MBJ. I'm studying third year MBBS. And Ganesh?
I'm in IIT Dharwad studying third year BTech Electrical Engineering.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what. So today we both are here to discuss about global pandemic response force. Is it required? Is it a necessity in the current scenario? After seeing how this coronavirus is devastating the world currently, does the WHO need to think about having a separate force, like how the UN has its own army, to combat future pandemics? So Ganesh, what is your opinion to start off with? Do you feel it is required?
Yes. So I'd like to say that having something on a global level is absolutely essential because, well, let's face it, even though we call ourselves a separate countries, we are all of us on one single earth, and we have to help each other to battle against such unseen enemies. So, and a global response force to such kind of pandemics is not just comprising of probably only doctors and medical workers, but a lot of other help is required to really contain any sort of disease or any sort of pandemic which might turn into an epidemic. So, for example, I would like to put forth one of the ideas. Came very simple idea, but proposed by a technical background person. But it's based on for something to do regarding testing more. So, we know that currently India is probably performing about 2,000 to 3,000 tests per day. And if you want to spike up the number of tests you do for probably a little detour, but yeah, probably for every single day, the idea given was take 16 samples together and test them. So if it turns out to be negative, all 16 are negative. But if it turns out to be positive, you split them as 8 and 8 and do a binary sort of approach. So in this way, you can definitely catch with compared to 16 tests, you can probably go up to 16 times better accuracy and performance. And I'm not sure about the medical aspects of it, but yes, definitely something. So, and you see that a lot of people who are technically very sound, and since I myself come from an engineering background, I see a lot of requirement, especially from a technological perspective, because, for example, contactless entry. Most of our governments, for example, the Indian government has launched a solution challenge based on COVID-19 to inspire all the young technical talent in India to come and work, and so that they can develop innovative solutions to all kinds of problems existing. And one of the major problems is definitely to determine how the virus is going to spread. And it's something which is not really so easy to do for a person or two, but requires a lot of work behind. So I definitely say from a technological perspective, yes, you need statisticians to back up your force, and then doctors are you cannot live without them, and then medical workers, staff, nurses, and then you need some big shots coming in and pumping the money so that this response force can be immediately activated, and they require global access. So it's not something that countries should restrict from doing their job. And more importantly, we always require researchers and medical biotech companies, which probably are inevitable because they're the ones who probably would come up with vaccines. And that's pretty much it.
So actually, Ganesh, to add to your point, what I felt was, like you said, it's not only big shots, but I feel it's from now onwards, it needs to be a huge global cooperative effort for such biological pandemic disasters, because we've realized now after this coronavirus that it cannot be solved by one country or two countries. You need a global effort by all the countries together. And for that, I feel every country should contribute a small amount of their resource. Let it be materialistic products like masks, ventilators, sanitizers, any of those things, or it could be even their doctors. So what I felt was every country contributing a little bit of their doctors who will be deployed to the pandemic area will help them learn quickly about the disease that might potentially become a pandemic before it does. Go back to their respective countries and train the staff effectively and quickly into how they need to combat it. This is one thing. And the second thing what I felt was uh, like you said, the testing is very important. But for testing to happen, you need to develop effective test kits. So for that to happen, you need to have the different various types of tests. You have PCR, polymerase chain reactions. You have ELISA, antibody tests. You have so many different hemagglutination tests. So to see which is the most effective test, I feel that a global effort is required by various different research institutes all over the world to get as soon as possible to get access to, let's say, the viral genome, or to get patient serum, to start about different methods of testing so that the most efficient one can be developed and a cheap method can also be developed. And another thing which I felt is that it's very important that uh, uh, the the grassroots of the pandemic be contained as soon as we can, because at this current juncture, we are a world which is very, very, very highly interconnected, and people are constantly moving around, constantly interacting with each other. We are not like the world way before. So we need to curtail it at a very, very basic level. So Ganesh, do you have any other views now?
Yes, I definitely want to support that, and not just that, but also educating and awareness campaigns, which should definitely be carried out by such a global organization. Because, like, let's face it, there are a lot of rumors, a lot of misinformation today, and it would be really bad if people have wrong information about something as deadly as what we have today. So yes, I definitely like to support that.
And one more thing, Ganesh, actually, to add to your point, you said that you would want to use a binary method of approach for the testing to make it a little faster. Now, I think that would highly depend on a lot of factors. But one place where I feel it might be an advantage is when you're testing in a whole family. You can test the whole family, and even if one person comes positive and they have been in contact for 2 to 3 days, you can immediately know that since this is a highly contagious disease, that you can go ahead and quarantine the whole family without having to sit and test each one of them, given the likelihood that they will be harboring the infection. So maybe that is one advantage. But there are disadvantages. I feel more of a person from a more microbiology based background will be able to answer it. Like, I feel there might be interferences between 2 or 3 blood samples mixed together, or when you have antibody interactions, there are a little more, I feel, complications that might be there.
There definitely be biological complications.
Yeah,
I'm just talking.
Yeah. But if you're able to get through all of those, it's actually a very good effective method where, like you said, it'll make the testing much easier, much more cost effective, and much more faster also, and we can screen a larger population, which currently, knowing how contagious the pandemic is the key to curtailing the spread of the disease by screening as many as you can. So yeah, that is one very valid point which Ganesh has brought. What do you think about equipments being used by countries? Do you feel that countries should have reserve equipments like America?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, let's, for example, Italy, all of them are like, have to choose between patients to operate or treat them. And that's really sad to see that they have to sometimes prefer probably the young over the older ones, maybe because they are the future of the country. So, and and if it probably affects a country like India, then we don't even have enough equipment to even support 1% of our population. So, like, there definitely has to be some reserve, and probably from, like, we know that some countries are not that affected as compared to others, and we need one central body which can probably move equipment also from one place to another, like handling both supply and demand, and something which would definitely help us a lot in especially a situation of crisis. So yes, we especially ventilators, and we're looking forward to see like such hard working people like working day and night to create more number of equipment, and we realize such things only during the time of crisis. So we have to be more responsive with respect to equipment, which is absolutely essential.
Just one last question I have, Ganesh, this is I feel a more technical question which you will be able to answer is, how do you go about testing? Like now we have seen that a lot of countries rejected the Chinese masks and Chinese products because of decreased quality. So how are you going to do quality control when you're trying to do fast-paced production and mass production in a situation like this? What would be your approach to it? I know this is maybe not exactly your forte, but I felt maybe from an engineering aspect, I felt you'll have a better view than me.
Yeah, usually things it's like how any other mass-produced equipment is tested. Like, for example, let's say cool drinks. So, like they're usually manufactured in like stacks, and 4 to 5 random of them are picked and tested. So usually, the probability that 5 of them really are all good, there are defective pieces. So it's usually that in a stack, if there are defective pieces, then there are usually multiple ones and not 1 or 2. So, if you have multiple defectives, you can, by picking out some of them at random, there's a high chance that you catch the one which is defective. So in that way, you can pick up just random. You don't have to test the entire thing, and obviously at a time of crisis, you can't test the entire thing. So you pick up like 4 or 5 at random. It probably reduce the defect, like the probability of a defect being there to about just 1%. So in that way, it's really effective to just pick out at random and test it to see if it's working fine. So that's one of the ways usually employed in current industries for testing mass production.
What is your opinion on how to increase the speed of mass production? Even big companies are saying that it will still take them a month and a half to actually come out with enough numbers sufficient. But we are seeing that the spread is so fast and the death toll rising so quickly that a month is too long a time for us to wait for equipment like ventilators. How would you think that? What is the probable method that you might be able to increase the speed of producing such equipment?
So saying that ventilator production is definitely slow, and because they're very complicated equipment, and to actually manufacture them it requires a lot of time. So one definite idea is to use like pooling ventilators, where one ventilator can support probably 4 or 5. That's just one side of it. But talking towards the production side, well, the companies can do all they can, and turns out that some of them are really speeding up the process. But one definitive thing is all these equipment have basics lied under basic scientific phenomenon. So, which, like for example, like there are some certain microcontrollers. Talking very technically, so microcontrollers which perform certain action because of being very power efficient, and probably that's why they might be used in ventilators. But to speed up production, you definitely have alternatives. So I guess you have to look across alternatives, and probably research institutes have done a very good job. Like for example, IIT Bombay, I guess, had a new idea. IISc Bangalore actually had a very new idea for ventilator development, and probably something which they published recently. So where they developed it from very basic microcontrollers. So in that sense, any person who has bare minimum technical knowledge can develop something like that. So more hands into it would definitely create more work, and it's very important to look towards other exceptionally, not exceptionally, but other options you could definitely explore where you can actually get off to build the exact same product. Probably not the best, but it's definitely required in the crisis. So power is definitely
anything that is there is life-saving.
Yeah. It can perform the same action, but with less power efficiency. There'd be rejected designs. Probably have to work on them and bring it out.
I think this overall sums up what a global pandemic response force is. What do you think, Ganesh? Does it sum up approximately?
Yeah. We need people from all kinds of backgrounds to support this, because it's not one man's job, definitely.
So it's a multi-pronged approach, a multinational approach, and it needs to be quick, it needs to be fast, and you need to have a reserve of a lot of materials to combat such pandemic risks quickly. And I think the most important fact is how open the countries are to allowing the WHO to help them in combating and to prevent the spread of the disease. Yeah.
And I guess all countries should definitely support it, because, come on, it's a crisis time, and if you're looking for diplomatic answers, then that's not really something which is...
true. I think in such times we need to step above certain lines which we had drawn for ourselves, and whether diplomatic or not diplomatic, and then come up and support one another and just do it.
Yeah, definitely we should.
So this is the end of our discussion. Thank you so much, Ganesh. We'll see you next time, guys, again with the next topic very soon. See you guys. Bye.